close my laptop after a day of work and step out to the living room. The house is quiet, the neighborhood is quiet, and the whole world is blanketed in gray clouds. I have trash that needs to be taken out, kitchen that needs cleaning, videos I need to edit and record, but in this moment, all I want to do is sleep, to rest in tandem with the world around me. To act now would be to shatter a fragile tranquility. I can't sleep, for numerous reasons, including those mentioned, but I can rest, if only for a moment. For me, that looks like lying in bed, blanketed against the admittedly cold temperature in which I prefer to exist, listening to music and playing solitaire on my phone. Lately, the music has been either Versace or Jaws, both artists which I would readily recommend to anyone, and an iteration of solitaire called Canfield, though both of these have gone through numerous changes throughout my life. I've won over 1,000 consecutive games of a solitaire called Algerian Patience. It's a weird brag, but one I have nonetheless. Other than perhaps returning after a rather exhausting outing, physically, mentally, or other relevant adverbs, it is in these quiet moments that I feel the most at home. Hello world, my name is Atticus, and welcome. Similarly, and because I can't talk about myself for more than 200 words at a time, soundtracks in games can mark a location as a safe haven, a temporary home for its heroes. Firelink Shrine, Majula, and the track Home from Undertale are all excellent examples of this. But when I think of the sounds of home, the first that comes to my mind is Besaid Island from Final Fantasy X. If you've seen our objectively correct ranking of the best songs in Final Fantasy, you know that this is the second best song in all of Final Fantasy. But despite not quite surpassing Zephyr Memories, the Besaid Island theme is the one that sticks in my mind the most, and the one I listen to more often. Let's give some context to this song. You first hear it a little over an hour into the game. At least, that's how long it took me when I was grabbing footage. You could easily go over or under depending on how much exploring you do. There will, naturally, be spoilers for that first hour. We begin as our sports hero Tidus in a futuristic city named Zanarkand, where apparently very famous, as there are a number of people after our autograph, which serves as a clever segue into naming the main character. Traveling along the rather linear path, we learn about the disappearance of someone named Jet, and then arrive at the stadium. Again, fans bar our path, but we push through and the game begins. It turns out our stardom and confidence is not all bluster, as the cutscene shows us as very proficient at the sport, but the match is interrupted by a giant sphere of water and one of the coolest character introductions in Final Fantasy. In the time it took to do a cool flip, the city of Zanarkand is destroyed. Buildings and highways collapsing, infernos encroaching from all sides. We meet up with Auron, a character we apparently know and trust, and he leads us to presumed safety through the hordes of alien creatures overrunning the city. With his aid, we fight our way through, but instead of safety, we find ourselves face to face with the giant water orb, and it sucks us into it. We awaken, alone, in some flooded ruins, and seek out the necessities: food, shelter, potable water, and warmth.
Need fire.
Again, we're attacked, but this time by Sahagin. They may be strange to Tidus, but we, the players, are possibly familiar with them. That familiarity, that sense of knowing what's going on, however, is soon shattered when another alien creature bursts out from some unknown depths and kills the last Sahagin. We are now face to face with yet another alien creature, this one monstrously strong as we were against the previous foe. Escape is our only option, and luckily we are able to outswim the aquatic monster, but at the cost of being trapped within these frigid ruins. We're able to get a fire going, but are unsuccessful in our search for food. The warmth of the camp is short-lived as the flames begin to sputter out, and as we begin to search for more wood, we're attacked by yet another strange creature. This time, we receive help, as a small group of people kick down a door and exactly one of them helps us in the fight. With a win under our belt, fortune spins swiftly against us when our rescuers yell at us in a language we do not know and knock us out before kidnapping us. When we awaken, we learn, thanks to one of the captors who can speak our language, that we're expected to be helpful and go investigate a potentially dangerous ruin. It proves dangerous, as most things in this world seem to be. And we, accompanied by the one who can speak to us, are attacked by some sea life, including piranhas and an octopus-looking creature. Things are still bad, but they're getting more manageable. We complete our investigation, eat some food, and have a conversation where we learn our home was destroyed 1,000 years ago. And then the giant water sphere attacks again, separating us from the only kind of nice people we've met. When we awaken, we're just offshore of a beach, and a blitzball, the sport we're good at, comes hurtling towards us. We show off a bit and meet another group of people, all of whom speak the same language as us. We're invited to their village for some food, and it's in the map room next to the beach that this song starts playing. Up until this point, there has been nothing familiar to hold on to. Every time we start to get used to a zone, we're swept to a new one. If we face enemies we can beat, we soon encounter something that could annihilate us without breaking a sweat. There has been no place for us in this world for the better part of an hour, and there has been nothing to indicate that there will be somewhere ever again. But by chance, we find it. We find a place to rest, a place that could be called home. The enemies are recognizable and easily dealt with. While we don't know the people's culture, we can communicate and come to understand. Waka, the main person we interact with here, has been nothing but friendly and helpful, asking for nothing but our help in the coming blitzball tournament. He doesn't even ask us to bring his team victory, just to do our best. The game goes a long way to make Spira seem like an alien place, and it does a great job. But after an hour or so, it relents and gives the main character and the player a place to feel safe and at home. I could go on and talk about the importance of Besaid overall, but I've been playing through Final Fantasy X again, and I found that there's a lot about this game that I want to talk about, so we'll save all of that discussion for later. Until then, let's look more into some of the science behind music. There is a sizable amount of literature on the topic, and I am by no means an expert, but I did a bit of reading into it, so I'd like to share a bit of what I found. If you find this to be of interest, I'd highly recommend looking into it. There's some really neat stuff out there. First, there are a couple of papers detailing studies and experiments done which show a marked decrease in stress when listening to music. A personal favorite of mine is a study which took a group of people, split them into a group that would listen to calming music and a group that had no music, measured stress via cortisol levels, and then put them through the Trier Social Stress Test, which, if you, like I, did not know this was a thing, it goes like this. You get 10 minutes to prepare a 5-minute speech about why you're the ideal candidate for your dream job, and are told that this will be reviewed by a panel of public speaking judges, not experts in your field. Public speaking judges. You have to speak for the entire 5 minutes, and if you're silent for more than 20 seconds, the scientist will helpfully inform you that you still have time remaining. After the 5 minutes of public speaking are up, you are asked to repeatedly subtract 13 from 1022, starting from the top if you mess up, and you're supposed to do this for another 5 minutes. Reminds me of Tokyo Ghoul. All in all, it does seem incredibly stressful. The study found that cortisol levels were about equal in both groups before the stress test, which makes sense. But afterwards, the music group returned to their baseline noticeably quicker than the group without music. I believe they were listening to Enya, if you were curious. And that's really interesting. I was able to find another study that came to the same conclusion, that music can alleviate stress, But my next question was, why? What is it about music that allows it to have such an effect on us? I don't know if my SEO was off, but I had a fair bit more difficult time with this question than the simple affirmation that music can indeed affect stress. Several articles refer to sedative or stimulative music, though they don't exactly elaborate on what makes a given song fall into which category. I suppose it's a you'll know it when you hear it type of deal. There are some characteristics we can apply to each, however. Sedative music tends to be slower, typically around 60 beats per minute, or the same tempo as a resting heart rate. Rhythm should be regular and smooth. Slow and sustained melodies work best, and finally, pitch should be kept low, since high pitches tend to elicit tension. The said island, unfortunately, runs at about 109 beats per minute, so they probably wouldn't use it in a clinical setting, but within its own context it works beautifully. Consider again that first hour of Final Fantasy X, but this time let's listen to some of the music we experience. We have some great songs here, including the battle theme, which we hear several times, but none of these really hit any of those sedative qualities. Most probably fall far closer to stimulative. Even the slower songs, with the exception of maybe Albed Tribe's G, are still kind of unsettling, until we wash up into sed. All of this music, from what I've read, lights up a significant portion of our brain, called the music brain by at least one music educator, and affects it in ways still unclear to me, even after looking through 10 papers on the topic. Fun fact, between my willingness to read more on this subject and the cruel, unrelenting march of time, it was the latter deadline which struck first. One thing I have found that kind of explains the underlying why is that a strong beat can cause brainwaves to resonate in sync, speeding up or slowing down depending on the song. This, in turn, affects how quickly you breathe and how fast your heart beats, and can, and I paraphrase, mean an activation of the relaxation system, among other things. Here at Project Mutt, our collective brain has not yet achieved the level of self-awareness needed to know what that entails, and I have not learned enough neuroscience to provide any sort of remotely accurate reasoning. Ultimately, even without the underworking knowledge, we still know how music makes us feel, how different songs can remind us of various times in our lives, amp us up for a workout or whatever it is active people do, or even how they can put us at ease and make us feel at home. I have been Atticus, and thank you for participating.